So some people know me as Kita Curry. Oh, isn't there a song like that? But my friends call me Speedo or whatever. But in my poetry life, I'm Kita Shantiris because I started writing and publishing under that name before I got married. But Shantiris is such a weird name that I was tired of explaining it, so I thought I'd have Curry in my normal life. So I'm going to open with the first poem in this book, but first I wanted to tell you that, if I ever tell someone I'm a poet, they always say, well, what kind of poetry do you write? Which is a very difficult question. And I finally started out saying, well, I write about sex, love, and death. Isn't that just about everything? And then I realized, really, I write about love because sex and death are part of love. And so some of these poems may seem rather dark, but to me they're all love poems of one sort or another, because we don't just arrive at love overnight. We usually have to make some mistakes and shed some ghosts. So this first section is the making mistakes and shedding ghosts section. Am I doing okay with the sound? Okay. This is called Beyond Fort Worth. Mama killed a chicken snake and tarantula. She wrapped us in blankets before the tornado. Come morning, everything that was tall had fallen. One tree, the brick chimney. Every window was squint, the dust insidious. I wrote "Clean me" on the Venetian blinds. Mama sliced her thumb washing them with ammonia in the same bathtub where the dog quivered when he heard thunder. When Mama heard gravel, she knew what it meant. She knew my father's engine, how dust accelerates. There was no good reason for him to come home early, or my brother to draw deserts without people. No good reason for me to yearn in the scrub for another dose of sunset. If I pushed up a chair, I could reach Mama's pills for blood poisoning. They were yellow like candy. I don't want every poem I read from this section to be an I poem, because there are quite a few that aren't. So I'm going to read this poem called The Fall, and Robin actually is responsible for this poem too, because she let me know about a magazine that was looking for poems about crows. I was like, I don't know anything about crows. I don't really care about crows. But I started to think about crows, and it led to me thinking about them. And then that led me to thinking about animals. And when you change their names into verbs, it's almost always negative, like pig out, ratting on someone, horsing around. So then this poem came to be. It's called The Fall. Not the brilliance of October, but the descent from a limb, like a leaf changing into a verb, like crows succumbing to the West Nile virus. So many gone now, so many dead on the ground, no longer connecting subject and predicate, as if they were punished for relishing success, for crowing with raucous joy. So sad how the verbs evolved for the birds and the beasts, how it's unseemly to dog the one you love. The horse shakes its mane and becomes a boy in the principal's office, a boy who smells the world outside and wants to race in the grass and be rewarded with a hand full of sugar, not the hard note home or the hand that will hurt him. A boy that still has the lungs to crow, but could so easily be broken. Okay. Another happy poem. I am happy when I finish them. My husband will go, "Oh God, Kita, that's so depressing." And I go, "But is it a good poem?" So this is called Scars. I'm looking for a photo of you from Burma, one that was shot after combat, one where your cheeks are lined with sweat and fear, like the treads tanks make driving through mud. Deep in the jungle, I'm looking for a way to forgive you for the monsoons and all you leached from us, something to illuminate the explosions that followed, a way to forget all the nights I pretended my bed was a ditch and sleep had already killed me, a way to forget you brooding in the doorway like a panther in one of your war stories. Someone inside me kept watch when you taught us how to make bedrolls the way they taught you in the army, If I didn't learn quickly, you might strike with your unpredictable paw. You waged hand-to-hand combat with the furniture and anyone big enough to question your authority. Now you are a prisoner of your wheelchair. I'm going to push you as fast as I can. It's time you knew how it felt when you gunned that blue Ford to 90. You're not driving anymore. You're mine for interrogation. I haven't read this poem, but I realized I better read it because when people hear the title of the book, then they go, oh, I want to find out what snakes want. Now it's starting to feel like it's becoming a burden, like, oh, they're going to be so disappointed when they find out what snakes want. So I better get it over with before the suspense builds up in me more. What snakes want. Mama, you tell me you paid for my overbite. It wasn't worth it. You tell me I still have the tongue of a serpent. Let me tell you what snakes want. Only their weakness for milk brings them down from the gnarled rock slopes. Something in their flat heads senses the odor. They will crawl on their long bellies across the shadow of a threshold. They will find nursing mothers, the damp lips of infants. They will defy the splinters of a cradle. They will. Mama, I will defy you until you listen. Now we're going to the Finding Love poem. See, it's a bit of a relief from the first section. Some of them are a bit racy. So actually, I think I'll start, how are we doing with time, with My Racy Mind. And I went to a seminar for people that had completed poetry manuscripts where you got feedback from editors. And it was up in Northern California. I live in Southern California. And on the way back, I had received good feedback, and so I was sort of ecstatic. And Highway 5, going from the north to the south, is very boring and hypnotic. And you could amuse yourself seeing things that maybe aren't quite there. There are orange groves, there are grapevines, and then actually when you get toward the end of the drive, there's something called the grapevine, but you go up it, and there's like this very curvaceous set of foothills. And so, and then if you don't know much about Eastern religion, Shiva is the god with lots of arms, and Ganesh is the elephant god with a trunk, of course. My Racy Mind. Lord, thank you for this station. The DJ preaches so slowly, even sinners can understand Spanish. Praise the musical confluence of Highway 5 and my radials. Forgive me for accepting GPS as my pole star. It led me to a belly-up Starbucks. I beseech thee for relief. 32 beads until the next exit. Pressure reaching the point, pain will soon be pleasure. Forgive what the truckers will see from on high in their semis. Sweet Jesus, I saw stars for a millisecond. Now a phalanx of Shivas beckons me, infinite limbs robed in glossy citrus. Spare me, spare them the thrip. Bless the transubstantiation of water into Pinot Grigio. My God, Ganesh is loose in the vineyard. Trucks dangle from every trellis. Lift up mine eyes. Lead me over the pass without overheating. Oh, Lordy, why must the foothills curve like this? A commotion of breasts and hips, like India's tantric carvings. Like me, bent on tasting oranges and grapes, swallowing the alpha and the omega. Father, forgive me for my trespasses as I forgive the barbed wire for digging its nails in. I don't know, in California they laugh at that poem. I've decided people in New York do not have dirty minds. So this is called Parsing the Body. Robin told me about going to a writer's conference where there was a poet who said he hated adjectives. And I started thinking, well, what would life be like without adjectives? And so this is the poem that came from it, Parsing the Body. Without adjectives, tender will be deleted from love, as will the blood in these oranges. The veins of purple fingerlings will become nondescript. You will not be able to name the ruffled and bearded irises or call me luscious, which also is the scent where you burrow. Let's abandon that dictum. Put your hand here. Tell me the words on your tongue. Salty, scarred, erect. Yes, my breast is those adjectives. They come from sweat, surgery, and your touch, which merits elaboration. Listen to your fingers. Put them on everything red. Put them on everything swollen. Then we will move on to the verbs and conjunctions. Okay, oranges. This poem won second prize in the Ballymaloe International Poetry Contest. It's out of Ireland, and I got to go there and read, and it was really a lot of fun. And for those of you who are not from California, you might not know that smudge pots are those things that they burn in orange groves when it's going to be a frost to keep them from frosting over. It emits a lot of like smoky, greasy stuff that protects the leaves. Oranges. With all the smudge pots, who would have thought they were evergreens? When you were 16, you lived on crates of Valencias. Not much left after the rent and gas. I fell for your ginger hair the same way birds went for it during nest building. It made me think in Spanish of the sun falling asleep on my pillow and the sun waking, of la puesta del sol and el amanecer, of the masculine and feminine, of broken chairs that needed a man's touch. When you came to undo the clamps, I offered you red wine so sweet we added limes and lemons. Was it the green leaves of my running shorts or the night blooming jasmine? On our first trip, we took the bypass to collectibles and fruit stands. That was 25 years ago. All that juice staining us for life. Okay, the last section, I said they're all love poems. And these are love poems. It starts with a saying by George Eliot, a quote by George Eliot. Our dead are never dead to us until we have forgotten them. So these are my love poems to the dead or dying. This first poem is from my sister Beth Sunflower, and it's called Pins, P-I-N-S. In case there's a trace of my southern accent from the past. Pins, no. Pins secured the butterflies my gentle sister chloroformed. Every swallowtail still reminds me of her. They were the darkest and most beautiful. She knew how to name and order the superfamily Poplinidae. When she was 15, she numbed herself, hiding in a trunk full of mothballs. Not to die, to be safe. Sometimes the only way to subdue the world is to stick pins in a map and migrate. Every hinge is made of wings and a pin. A knuckle pulls them together. I have her brooch with iridescent wings. When I wear it, I remember how I chased her as she ran with the net, how I pursued her like nectar, as if I would morph just by touching the fragile dust of her. Nowadays, I notice my hands fluttering, like hers when she was talking. Every swallowtail reminds me of her. She was the darkest and most beautiful. Some of you know, and some of you don't know, that I'm a psychologist and I run a community mental health center. And we have a suicide prevention center, which has the oldest crisis line in the U.S. And it's been incredibly touching, but incredibly inspiring to meet people that have lost loved ones to suicide, and how so many of them take that pain and they use it, they lift themselves up by reaching out and helping others. And I'm particularly moved by parents who have had to not only outlive their kids, but live through such an incredible tragedy. And this is a poem that I read. It's called The Shelf Life of Grief After a Child's Suicide. You don't have to worry about losing this. It's yours forever. This memory for details. Nights unraveling, never reaching their end. How your mind does wander. How you regret the crushed velvet and plated handles. You paid so much, hoping it would hurt less. Oh yes, you remember like it was yesterday. Things you don't want to say. Sometimes you find yourself halfway across the kitchen asking, what is my purpose? Small comfort, giving away her clothes and organs. There are girls her size everywhere. Now you understand the keening when they separate dams from their calves. When your daughter was all hands and knees, she lay on butcher paper. The teacher traced her body like a detective at a crime scene. Even the good memories have been twisted by hindsight. What was God thinking? This was not the time. This was not the season. How are we doing time-wise? Okay, I'm going to finish with a poem that I wrote after meeting and spending a number of visits at his home with Ed Schneiderman. He was one of the founders of the Suicide Prevention Center. He was also a professor of thanatology, which is death. And he loved Melville. And he was a bit of a cranky man, but just fascinating. And I loved visiting him. And he would read passages of Melville, and I'd bring him cookies. And he knew he was dying. In fact, he was writing a book called something like the 10 Steps to a Good Death. And he was, he talked about dying, obviously. He was writing a book about it. And so this is a poem that I wrote to him called 4-Letter Words. Someday you will wade out into the slap of the tide, shouting 4-letter words at a vexing cloud of gulls. Pain, fear, hope. Fuck, not yet. Not while you still have some strength left to fight the sleeper waves. You still love the way breasts swell with each inspiration, the way the old tabby purrs, flexing and inflexing her perfect pause. Not yet. Though sometimes in your sleep you are getting out of your car and Jean is back at the window, waiting for you to cross the green grassy sea. Sometimes you think it will happen at your desk, that you will cry out and drop your pen like an oar. Or maybe you will drift away like Melville's white sepulcher on an azure sea. You tell me it ends with 2 4-letter words, dead and gone. No, I say it ends with 1, love. Thank you. I just wanted to say that we still have time. We don't have to leave till 2:30, and so we can talk, we can laugh, you can buy books if you want, we can autograph them. But thank you all so much for coming, and we all really, really appreciate it. And it's great to have such a wonderful network of people here. Thanks.